For me, it all started with mud.
Hey! What was it about Let's Gray?
But no, I would say my biggest influence is being messy, if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean?
Don't go on explain.
It's like it's a bit of therapy, this, you know. It's a great way of sort of getting through stuff and, you know, talking about it, really. And remembering. You know, it's a good way of sort of, it's like a diary, really.
It is.
I was reading a book by Will Oldham, which Mark very kindly lent me. And actually, we're big fans of Will Oldham. We listen to a lot of him, and Palace and Bonnie Prince Billy, that sort of stuff. And he was saying that you know, there's not a lot of him in the songs. That's what he said. And I was very surprised to hear that. And actually, I didn't buy it 100%. I didn't buy it 100%. But he is a superb actor. He's a superb actor. He'd been in some good films, and so, you know, and what he said was, when you watch Robert De Niro, you're not thinking he's not a taxi driver. You know, you're not thinking that. And you know, so maybe he is just a great actor, and he's really great at portraying characters. But he's in that case, he's a writer, a director, and an actor, isn't he? And that's pretty good going, because there's such a lot of truth in the music. So yeah, so Truth is a good one for me. That's an influence for me.
Is there a lot of you in these songs then?
Yeah, I think for pretty quite a lot. I mean, they're not entirely autobiographical by any means, and I think I buy what he says about that in that regard, because you sort of take experiences and then put them through focus and create characters and, you know, create pictures for people, don't you? You know, that's but yeah, what about you two? Who gets you going?
Who are the influences?
Yeah.
I think there's so many, and there's so many all the time. I mean, it's that, you know, you hear something else and think, that's beautiful, that's inspiring, that's so. There's almost too many to begin to even say any names. It's so varied as well.
But let's say a few names. Let's go through loads of names. Go on. Go on.
Well, I guess I mean, for me, a bass player playing in this kind of setting, you know, it's hard not to be referring back to what Danny Thompson did. And so that would be something of an influence to me, got to be said. And not that I approach his skill and technique and invention, but yeah, there's definitely an influence there. But it's also for me, I mean, a lot of them are really important music I've listened to in my life. They're really noisy and abrasive and discordant, and as a long-standing favourite band of mine who are now no longer in existence, Sonic Youth would be a kind of a huge influence in the way they kind of layer different sounds together, and I love the way the sounds work and sometimes don't work, but that's part of the point. So that sort of approach, I love listening to jazz, and particularly kind of very sort of freely improvised jazz. I love the way that not being bound by the particular chord sequences and particular melodies, but just expressing yourself and playing something as a style of approaching making music. That works really well for me as well. Although you don't hear it directly necessarily in what we're doing, but it's kind of part of what I understand about music and what I appreciate about music.
Ornette Coleman, Archie Shepp, The Damned, Crass, Jeffrey Lewis, Tracy Chapman, Fast Car.
One of them. Brilliant album.
Some students sang that today actually at college, and it was just so beautiful. And they finished playing it, and usually as a teacher you sort of give them a bit of feedback. That's what, you know, you do. And I just said, I thought your voice made me start crying then. And she was like,
now you're scary.
Slowly to the door. But I couldn't help it. I couldn't help, you know, what to say. But yeah.
Is there a person, one person you could name that's helped you more than anybody else in your music career so far?
Yes, absolutely. I can say that without doubt. It's a bloke called Dick Lucas.
Who's Dick Lucas?
Dick Lucas is a singer out of a band called Subhumans.
Right.
And he also sang in a band called Culture Shock and another band called Citizen Fish. And when I was first getting a band together, we did a gig with Citizen Fish, and after the show he said, I like that, you know, and his mates in the band said they like that, and they got us to do a little tour with them in the UK. And then they said, well, why don't you come to Europe with us? And so we went to Europe with them, and they said, why don't you come to America with us? We went to America with them a few times. And basically, and I started playing trumpet with them, so I was playing trumpet on all their albums. And the great thing about them is that they do they do an indie split of everything, so everything gets split equally between that. So you do a tour of America, and everyone in the band gets an equal cut of the profits, if there is any profits. You know, and to me that informed the way that I do things about music. Definitely, you know, that's and when we take different musicians out at different times. You know, take a violinist out and take Mark Stevenson out, and when we do it, we split it equally, and that's the only way to do it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
I've
got on with that.
So yeah, Dick Lucas. Yeah. Big up the Dick.
Okay. Hey!
Follow that, Kate. Hey! Yeah. Go on, Kate.
It's me, isn't it? It's me.
No. Actually, we've done a lot of music together over the years. We played a lot with a guy called Nick Duffy, who was part of the Lilac Time back in Herefordshire in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, nearly 20 years ago.
So he was, and his approach was really interesting. And then we played with this guy called Alex Gordon, and that's
it's been alright, isn't it?
That's kind of my answer as well, actually. Yeah.
Nick
introduced me to
hit the charts with something.
I'm
sure I got their single somewhere, kind of hidden in the back of my.
Nick's brother was Stephen Tintin Duffy. And he was Stephen and Nick formed Lilac Time in Birmingham,
and he was in Duran Duran, wasn't he? Was he in Duran Duran?
Stephen was one of the founding members of Duran Duran. Yes, he was. Didn't last in Duran Duran very long. I think he saw the light very early. And because his stuff's been much more folky than new romantic, it's not really his thing. Yeah, working with, but getting the opportunity to play with Nick as we did, as Kate was saying, taught me a lot about being more particular and about kind of listening to each other. And that was kind of my first experience of being a bit more, I mean, not professional in the paid sense because we never were, but in a sense of the way you could approach playing music with other people. So I could learn a lot from that.
Actually, Ian Smith as well as him.
What, the Zimbabwe Rhodesia leader?
You're
thinking more philosophically and politically.
Shocking.
Yeah.
What's
Maybe wrong not to say his name because he's also been.
It's certainly part of our current context, isn't it? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What's the best thing about being a performer then?
Best thing?
Yeah.
For me, it's definitely
the food.
No, I really, well, it sounds like a cliche, but I really love it when the audience is more interesting than the band, or as interesting as the band. So you go in and you start playing and you realise that there's a lot of character in the audience, and that's great.
So you actually watch the audience? I've always wondered whether you just concentrate in playing or you are kind of looking around going,
Well, what we do is we try and generate some power as a group. But I think you have to keep checking to see where the audience are, don't you, to see where you're going next.
Yeah, you're sort of experiencing the audience almost without looking at them. You get
Yeah.
a sense of what's going on.
Yeah. Sometimes you get the wrong sense like that, though, I think, as well. Yeah.
But it's weird when you play and you can't see the audience. When you know, when there's lights and you don't. I don't much like that. I'd much rather be able to see.
Definitely, you know, and when it's a spectacle, I love it. I love that. Yeah. When it just goes mad, when the night goes mad, that's brilliant. But that's what
Best part of
being a performer?
Being a performer. There is a buzz at a performing. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
And you know, I just crave attention.
Yeah.
You know, clearly. Yeah. So being a performer it works very well for me in that sense. Sometimes not the right kind of attention, but that's the got to take the rough with the smooth. But when you've worked on something together with people and you perform it and it's going well, in that moment, there's a great sense of almost, not entirely, but almost, regardless of whether there's any audience there or whether the audience that are there are really appreciating it. If you know it's working well, there's a tangible feeling from that. And that's a tremendous buzz. And to be doing it in a place where people can hear it and can appreciate and let you know, that's a great note.
Is there a worse thing about it? Is there a bad thing about being a performer?
Yeah. The bad thing is when a gig doesn't go as you're hoping, and I go and I can't really stop thinking about it for some time. It takes quite a long time to wind down. I feel really unhappy for a while. I don't like that.
No.
It doesn't happen very often these days.
on a good gig, your eyes are kite afterwards, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
with adrenaline and stuff.
Yeah.
But certainly for the bad stuff, you know, if you know you've let yourself down and you've lost concentration or and you didn't play well, it's a horrible thing. You can't get that moment back. You can't put it right. You've just got to adjust.
It's irritating. Yeah. So it gets under your skin a bit. Yeah.
But what about people who are listening to this who maybe thinking of forming a band or anything? Any kind of tips you could give them?
Do it with your friends, like the people you're playing music with.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a good deal to be said for, you know, choosing people that you can relate to musically. But actually, one of the things I really appreciate about playing music is it's about the relationships between the people you're playing the music with, and you know, actually, do it with people you like being with. I think that's quite an important thing.
If you want the band to last, that's what
Yeah. And also be very clear about what you mean by making it. Really.
Is that from experience, then?
Well, yeah. I just think I've made it. I do think I've made it. You know, with music, and that on my own terms, and that's good. You know, if you feel like that, then that's not too bad.
No, exactly.
It's not only about appearing on Jules Holland.
No.
Although if he's listening, get well soon, Jules.
You never know. Okay, time for another. What are we going to do this time then?
Let's do another gloomy one. We'll do.
Okay.
It's called Lucky Man.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't just pausing for impact. I just didn't know the title.